Here we go. Episode 75, NoLaughTrack. Thank you to Circle of Heat for letting us play their music once again there at the beginning. Check them out on Facebook and like us on Facebook if you haven't yet. NoLaughTrack's on Twitter, on Facebook. Leave a review on iTunes. Thank you to everybody that tuned into the last week. I wasn't here, so we threw up an old one that hadn't aired yet with Jimmy Pardo, one of my favorites. So thank you to everybody listening to that. If you haven't, it's a good one. It's Pardo. Has to be good. But right now, most importantly, she's back from episode 39. Begged to be back. I mean, I begged her to be back.
Begged to be back. How's it going, man?
It's Jackie Kashian.
Hello.
From 39 to episode 75.
That's it. You've been cranking them out.
Yeah.
Nice work. Nice work.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm just featuring this week. I'm working on all my new stuff with Maria Bamford. It's the Maria Bamford week. She doesn't need to do any of this. It's all working out for her. She sold out every show a month ago.
Yeah, and, I was just told every show sold out.
Yeah. That's great.
Crazy.
It's because she's amazing. She's the best working comic today, in my opinion. But that's it. It's so subjective. People are like, no, I think Nick DiPaolo is. Do you? Do you really? Well, good for you. All right. And it's but I'm always psyched to be here. It's my home club.
Yeah.
My comedy company, Jackie Kashian.
Maria's she's still one of my favorites. It's been a few years. I don't know if I'm able to make it down this week.
Right.
Well, I don't have a ticket yet, so I'd have to
you'll have to do some lurking in the back.
Yeah.
And for as long as you can lurk and not get in the way of the peoples.
Exactly. People have accused me of being good at lurking, which isn't a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all right. No worries. I think lurking. That's What are you going to do?
I think by nature that's negative.
Yeah.
I bet.
I'm coming back next month, though.
Yeah.
December 26, 27, 28. I'm doing the week in between Christmas and New Year's. Mm-hmm. And I think Pete Lee's doing New Year's, right?
Yes, he's here.
Doing,
yep,
that's awesome.
That week. Yep.
I'm in Austin doing Cap City. Rich Miller, another Minneapolis connection. I'm doing Cap City New Year's Eve. And but here I'll be the week before New Year's Eve, and I'm doing a DVD. I'm going to record a DVD and a new album. And here at the Acme. Which is where I've recorded every album.
Oh, okay. And this is the first DVD?
This is the first DVD. This is the first time, it's it'll be fine. A lot of people would lose weight to record a DVD. Not me. And I was like, if you know a way I can lose 50 pounds in a month, don't tell me. Because I don't want to know. Because
it probably won't be easy.
And it's going to be horrifying. They're like, well, you eat 9 X-Lax a day, and then all you do is drink olive oil. And you're like, what's happening? Because that's not happening.
No.
I don't know if is there a sandwich in there? Because that's what I'm really going to want to do.
Yeah. You do that, you don't leave the house.
No, because what you do is you end up pooing away all of your weight. But then the thing is, if I lost 50 pounds in a month, my skin would hang upon me in also a non-attractive way, right? Because, the aging process would become very clear very quickly. And then I'd have to go get plastic surgery, have them tuck away all this extra skin. And then God knows, January 1, I just start eating again. And then I gain that back. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to look normal, people. My condolences to everyone who is hoping for me to look like Aisha Tyler, who's very beautiful.
Wait, black?
And black.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I would also, if I lost 50 pounds, I would become black. A lot of people don't know this, but if you lose a lot of weight in a month, you change your race. Last time I did it, I was Chinese. And I said to myself, how are my math skills? Huh? Anybody?
Hey,
math. It's a math
just
joke.
halfway there.
All right.
You just reminded me of, I got sucked into watching an episode of some TV show that Snooki is on right now. Not the dancing one, but like her MTV show.
Yeah.
And she, I don't know what her diet is, but she admitted to sharding.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, she's a classy lady.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, you know what? Now she's a mother now. This show seems to be based around being a mother.
Here's my thing, though. Mm-hmm. Once you're a mother, all bodily functions kind of become, you could talk about them because you're constantly being pooped on and thrown up at, and somebody's constantly grabbing at you.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, I guess. And so that might have just opened it up for her to discuss.
That's a good point.
Like previously she might not. I'm not saying that Snooki is a classy lady ever, and she might have been discussing sharding early in her life.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. All the new words, grammatication doesn't approve.
No?
No, because here's the thing, and people are like, Well, you're starting because I'm starting to grow into the age where I can say things like grammacation doesn't approve, but previously I didn't approve. When I was 16, I didn't want to hear about some new word for muffin top, and I was like,
Never liked that one.
Is that thing where everybody's fat and then it hangs over, and then people who are super skinny refer to having a muffin top, and I'm like, stop it, stop calling it that, and just shut up. And
Cutesy, too cutesy.
It doesn't, but it's incredible. It isn't cutesy. I mean, I think what they were trying to do was make it cutesy.
Yeah.
But it just made it super graphic. And it was like a way to, because the thing is you get, once you're explained what that is, and stand-up comedy is full of, horrible images that I cannot scrub out of my brain.
Yes.
Probably 17 years ago, I heard a comic tell a joke about a pearl necklace.
Yeah.
Which is when a man jerks off on your chest.
Yeah.
And
What?
Yeah. And I did not know what that was. And then I didn't know that it had a name.
Yeah.
And because all of my sexual relations, gonna go out on a limb, too much info for you, pretty standard. There's some exchange of goods
Classically
and
trained?
services.
You're classically trained?
I think I'm classically. I do enjoy that. That's a nice one.
Thank you.
Yeah, it feels that. It isn't, we're not doing it through a hole in a sheet. So, I mean, we jump around a little bit, but there's no tab A going into slot B,
Right.
for example.
Right.
You can keep your slot B to yourself. And kids, it counts. It counts as sex. You can say it doesn't count because it's going up your poop chute, but it's an intimate moment. Let's call all sex. Why don't you redefine that, Bill Clinton, as an intimate moment?
Yeah.
Because a blowjob is an intimate moment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Can we talk about, so far, in the first 4 minutes, we have discussed many very graphic bodily functions.
That's fine.
What the hell?
That's fine.
Let's bring it. What else? What else has Jackie not talked about on a podcast? I have never discussed bodily functions.
I got one for you because this is new. Maybe you have someplace else. My new favorite mayor, Rob Ford in Toronto. I bet you have
I heard this.
thoughts.
Who had the greatest? I'm loath to quote somebody's tweet without a source, but it was a reference to Baron Harkonnen, which is a Dune reference.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. He said, when did Toronto's mayor? When did they elect Baron Harkonnen to be their mayor? And Baron Harkonnen, if you remember the movie, he was the guy that
barely.
floated, and then he had the heart plugs. It was just foul, and he's gross. And I do a podcast called The Dork Forest, which is why I have Dune references in my head.
Yes.
And but yeah, it's that guy. I don't understand. I guess if you just admit that you've done something and don't go to the police and turn yourself in, then they can't just arrest you. Like I could say I robbed a bank once and the police will not show up and arrest me for robbing a bank.
Good point.
So I guess if you say I did crack a bunch of times, the police will not show up and arrest you.
Yeah.
You have to go to the police station and say, which seems lazy on the part of the police. Well, they're like, we're working. And but
He knows the way.
Yeah, if he really wants to. And then I did like that he said recently that he's going to stop drinking.
Yes, and because
Did he say
that's
he
what you
was gonna
say.
stop drinking?
That's what you say when you blame your crack smoking on being in a drunken stupor. Is that you then have to say, "I'm going to stop drinking,"
and that'll do it.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yeah.
How about it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, it's dumb.
It doesn't really set a good example for people, for the children of today.
Oh,
that
no.
you can just blame, hey, drunken stupor.
Yeah.
Drunken stupor.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my position.
And I did some raping, and because that used to be the excuse for rape was he was drunk, so he didn't know what he was doing, and you're like, but his penis still worked, so clearly, he wasn't that drunk. Because liquor dick takes a bit, and granted, they also say that once you start drinking, the first thing to go is your judgment. Mm-hmm. That's like a scientific study that I also cannot cite the source for that, but I've lived it because it is the first thing that you would go. I'm like, yes, I will drive.
Oh,
yes, why wouldn't I drive?
Yeah, what is it? It's a reaction that slows down.
Everything slows down.
So inhibitions.
Out
the door.
Out the door. Then all of a sudden, things are happening.
You grew up in
Wisconsin, outside of Milwaukee, a little
outside
factory
of Milwaukee.
town.
Are you paying
called
attention?
South Milwaukee.
Are you paying attention to your Packers this year?
I'm not.
No.
Wait, I only know through osmosis because if you're from Wisconsin, you get information about the Packers even if you've never cared. And something happened. Aaron Rodgers, who is the quarterback,
There you go.
broke a shoulder blade or something, or a collarbone.
Collarbone.
And then now there's a new guy whose name sounds like Tolkien.
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
That's right.
So I've got some information.
That's close enough.
I went to my high school reunion this year, and I'm in the dive bar that has a fish fry on Fridays where we're having our high school reunion.
Of course, perfect.
And the game is playing, and one of the women I went to high school with and her husband have come to this thing, both in Packer jerseys,
Of course.
because it's a dress up event.
You were wearing?
I was wearing a blouse and a pair of jeans. A blouse. That's what old people wear. But it was a shirt and a pair of jeans, but it was a nice shirt.
Yeah.
And they were wearing matching. She was wearing a lady Packer jersey, and he was wearing a guy Packer jersey.
Oh, she had the pink one, you're saying?
No, it was just it was cut more for ladies.
Oh, yeah.
It was a women's
Slimmer cut,
Yes,
yes.
it was more of a hourglass.
Yes.
And on the back, each of them had the word Matthews.
Right.
And I go into the bar, and she's standing next to him, and they're both wearing these matching things that say Matthews. And I go, "Who's Matthews?" And in Wisconsin, there was a lot of silence, and every person in the bar turned to look at me.
Oh, no.
And I said, "If you just tell me, then I'll know." There's no reason for you to look for tar and feathers and some sort of pitchfork and fire. And
Oh, no.
and they were like, he's on the team. And I was like, no, I get that. I assume that your last name is not Matthews, that you have not made these for yourselves.
Same jersey number.
Is he a receiver? Is he, like, I know the different positions.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's defensive. He's very handsome. And I was like, oh, okay, well, good. Now I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
Beautiful golden locks.
That's what I hear. I hear it's very
And now you've probably
Thor-like.
seen him on a commercial or something.
I haven't. I don't watch commercials.
No.
I have a DVR.
I do too, but
Yeah.
you still...
Yeah, you see an occasional commercial.
When Matthews, if you're fast forwarding, well, then
And
that
you get a glimpse of Matthews. You're like, stop.
He's in the shower washing his hair. Pause.
Did you see Thor? Did you see the new Thor?
No, but I was going to ask you that.
Oh, yeah, I
bet you
saw it.
have.
I've seen it twice so far. And let me tell you, that Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth,
One of them.
he's let himself go, clearly.
Yeah, right.
From one movie to the next.
Yeah.
He's only doing 3,000 sit-ups a day. He's a very handsome young man.
Yeah.
That's a good-looking kid.
That's not a...
And it's silly funny, too. They
Really?
kept the good funny from the first movie.
He's not... this isn't the type of superhero role like when Clooney had the
nipples and the-
nipples and the ripple.
Did you see the first Thor?
No, I never did.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Marvel is on an amazing roll right now with their superhero movies as opposed to DC, which is having some terribles. The last Batman movie was just a snuff film. And so the Superman movie was essentially, it was an origin story, so it was, he's got to learn his own strength, that Superman does.
Yeah.
And so he learned to the tune of several $1 million worth of damage or whatever that you got to take the big fights out of town.
That's right.
So that you're knocking over maybe a tree or something. And then and try not to take it to a national forest.
Did you like the Superman movie from like 10 years ago with the
Christopher Reeves ones?
No. You remember those like the middle where they tried to redo it again like 10 years ago with the kid from Iowa was Superman?
Wait, wasn't that the one just 4 years ago where it was several years ago, but I don't think it was as many as 10. But it was one where he looked like Christopher Reeves.
Yes.
That good?
Yes.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't either, but everybody kind of crapped on that one.
Yeah, they crapped on it. And they're crapping on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, the TV show. Everyone's like, there's no superheroes. And I was like, if a superhero showed up in a TV show about the regular agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who have all these, they have super toys is what they have. They have all this crap.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
If the Hulk shows up, you pass the ball to the Hulk. You don't let, Agent Ward go in because that's just a guy.
Right.
And but I do understand. I mean, there is the biggest problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is let's talk about some Marvel.
Yeah.
The problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that there isn't someone like Nathan Fillion from Firefly who has that kind of charisma who can carry the show. The Agent Coulson character he's really likable, but he's ensemble-y, right? Mm-hmm. And Firefly was ensemble-y, but it had Nathan Fillion as that sort of incredibly charismatic, and everybody was charismatic, but he was kind of the focal point. Your best bet in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now is our narrator, who is a woman who looks almost exactly like Alyssa Milano 15 years ago.
Well,
she's very beautiful,
yeah.
and her character's name is Sky, and she's a hacker. She's an IT hacker kind of lady, and she has a great deal of stage presence that I think can carry the show. And every show, there's only been 6 of them. And you got to give Joss Whedon, a season.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
The man has had success.
Yeah, he's good at what he does. And I love the show, and a lot of people don't. They think that it's, I don't know what they don't like.
How are the ratings on that thing? Is it going to stick around?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
But I am told by my loved one, my husband, Andy, Andy's like, you gotta let it go, Jay. It's going to last as long as it lasts. And then Joss Whedon will do something else. It'll be fine. He's been reading comic books forever, and he knows how to let things go. He knows how to reboot things. He knows how to just go, well, things are changing.
And you think that's because of the comic book?
Oh, I know it's because of comics. Yeah, because he's just like, no. What they've done is they've retconned all of the stuff, which is to retroactively put in continuity.
Oh yeah.
There's like the Sentry. Brian Michael Bendis created a superhero in comic books called the Sentry, and then he wrote a comic book set back in the 60s when the Sentry was there. Well, the Sentry, he just invented him.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean the Sentry was hanging out with the Avengers? He was not. He was never hanging out with Wolverine in 1970. It didn't happen. But he retconned it into creation of that. And it's gutsy stuff. But no one has ever accused Brian Michael Bendis of not having balls the size of Gibraltar. But I think if you read a lot of comic books, you learn how to let go of characters, and because they'll always come back.
Are you going into the comic book shops with your hubby?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Dork Forest was sponsored by our comic book shop in October. Earth 2 Comics. Let's plug them here.
Yeah, sure.
You ever make to Sherman Oaks or Northridge in California? Walk in, tell them you're a fan of the Dork Force, get 10% off.
Is this the one have you done live shows at this place, or is it?
No, I did it at Meltdown.
Okay.
Meltdown Comics, they got an online shop, meltdowncomics.com. And but yeah, I love comic books. Are amazing. They're almost exactly like stand-up comedy in the fact that each comic book can be about anything.
Yeah.
Stand-up comics can talk about anything, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or don't, they get to talk about, and there's something for everyone. Someone wants to go see Carrot Top. Mm-hmm. Someone wants to go see Maria Bamford. Someone wants to go see me. Almost everyone wants to go see me. I am the golden retriever of stand-up comedy. I could not. I
was going to say some.
Well, exactly. I could not be more accessible. And but but I love comic books. I love comic books. There's a Dork Forest fan came to one of my last show in New York. I was at the New York Comedy Festival a couple of weeks ago, and he showed up with a couple of comic books. He had done the art. I didn't realize he had done the comic book art, the cover art rather, because there's 2 different artist job in a comic book. There's the cover art, and then there's the inside art. Yeah, and then there's a couple other. There's like an inker, and there's a colorizer. I guess they're probably not the word, but he had done the cover art for both of these. It was a Doctor Who, and it was a After Archie, I think it was called. Archie's Afterlife, I think it's called. Afterlife Archie, and it's where Jughead becomes a zombie.
Oh, wow.
And it's hilarious and dark and spooky as all fuck and awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and Robert Hack is his name. And Robert Hack did 2, and he gave me 2 different comic books. One is a Doctor Who, it was an anthology of old Doctor Who stories that he had illustrated. Yeah. And then this Afterlife of Archie. And it's so great. So great. Because you're like, they took the Archie characters and put them in a zombie universe. Because they can do whatever they want. One of the first comic books, I started reading comic books in like 2004, probably. And one of the first ones I picked up was called Not High Times.
Hey, I've seen High Times.
Dude. And it was called...
Bud of the Year, man.
Yeah, I forget what it was called, but it was written by the guy who did Howard the Duck. And it was about a Columbine kid. It was like a Columbine situation. Yeah. Where a 15-year-old kid goes with his friends. His friends are like, we're going to go shoot up the high school. And he's like, let's do this. And he shows up with all the kids, and he's like, no, not for real. We're not going to really shoot up the high school. So they end up shooting up the high school and killing themselves or getting killed. And he lives and he's made an example. And then they send him to prison for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And so he's 15, tried as an adult. And then he gets a superpower in prison. Anyway, so it takes a turn for the supernatural, but they can be reality stories.
Yeah.
Persepolis is the story of this woman from Iran. It can be an extrapolated reality series where there's something called Pride of Baghdad, which was a story about in Baghdad when the U.S. troops first went into Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what asshole opened up the zoo, and all the animals from the zoo started wandering around Baghdad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and so the Pride of Baghdad supposedly follows the Pride of Lions that escapes from that zoo. Very sad, very moving, and beautifully drawn. And so the art can be amazing, the stories can be weird and about anything, and they can also just be about superheroes. And they can also, Ed Brubaker has a great one-off. If you want to read one thing, it would be Incognito by Ed Brubaker, and it's about a supervillain protection. It's a superhero witness, it's witness protection, but for supervillains.
I like it.
Yeah, so, and it's all noir-y and awesome. He writes a lot of noir. He writes a lot of awesome noir comic books, but he also did the Captain America run.
Okay.
Where he killed Captain America, brought him back to life, brought back the Winter Soldier, which is the new movie, which is Bucky, which is Captain America's sidekick.
Okay.
You put a nickel in me. I can talk comic books.
I know. I had issue 1 of a comic called Elf Quest at one point.
Wendy Peeney.
Look at that.
And her husband. She was on the Dork Forest.
Really?
Yeah, a very old episode, probably 6 years ago. But because it was when it was a call-in show. And Elf Quest. That's pretty awesome stuff. Was it porny? I forget. I never did read Elf Quest. I don't think it was.
No.
Okay. Bill Willingham used to do something called Hardwood or something.
I don't know
was
that
porny.
one.
Well, Bill Willingham writes Fables and Jack of Fables. Jack-offables. But here's the thing about Fables is Fables has been ripped off, or has it? So hardcore Once Upon a Time TV show.
Oh.
And the Once Upon a Time Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bill Willingham, what he did was he created a world where the Fables came into our world and lived in New York, and it's amazing. But he did not get a big bag of money from ABC.
Oops.
Disney. They do what they can.
Why haven't I ever got? You mentioned Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. Why haven't I ever gotten to Doctor Who?
Why haven't I ever gotten into Doctor Who?
You haven't?
No, I watched Tom Baker when I was a kid.
Me too, but that's it.
And that's it. And I've tried to watch, I'm 5 episodes into the one from 2005, the first season on Netflix. And I'm like, no, I get it. And that's where I've left it. But I watched all of Torchwood, which is blessedly finite. You know, Torchwood is a spinoff of Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
And there's only 3 seasons. And each season has, the first season has 6 episodes. The second season has 12 episodes. The third season has 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah. Very British.
Very British. Yeah. And Sherlock, I watched all of Sherlock. Can't wait for the next season of Sherlock to come out on DVD. And it's just, I haven't been able to get into Doctor Who, and I want to, but I just haven't.
There's a website I buy all these nerdy, dorky T-shirts off of.
Yeah.
And they always have
one?
Doctor Who shirts.
Yeah.
T-Fury. Do you know that
one?
one?
Yeah. I know that one. That's the new biggie. That's awesome.
Yeah. I love that site. But they'll just have one shirt for a day, and then when it's a Doctor Who one, I never okay, I must be in some sort of target demographic where I like most of the stuff here. I'm missing it. Why am I missing the Doctor Who? And it's
right.
4 out of 7 days a week. I'm probably exaggerating, but okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
I listened back to a little bit of the first time you were on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And
what did I say? How was I?
It was good. You were good. You were on. And
Plug and play, my friend.
You mentioned we talked about video games just briefly. You said that you and your husband have like the
all the consoles. And stuff.
and it's funny because then during that podcast you asked me if I had heard about the PS4.
Yeah,
and now it just came out.
And it just came out
Friday.
I know it.
Yeah,
we didn't get one.
didn't.
When we got the PS3, he was working on a PS3 game at Sony PlayStation, because he's a game designer. And by the way, you don't get a deal if you work at Sony PlayStation on the PS3 or the game. You created the game, and nobody in video games seems to get a free game or a free console, in my experience, which seems rude. And but that's fine. But the current game that I'm waiting for an expansion set on is an iPad game called Middle Management of Justice. Where you are a middle manager and you organize your superhero team. That's what you do. I played it 3 times all the way through. The first time I played it, I lost a gig because I played it, because I was playing it for 6 hours in a row, and I didn't answer any of the texts on my phone.
Oh my god!
And I could have had a show with Bill Burr.
No,
that's very sad.
Oh no.
I ended up picking up another set with him later in life. And he seemed unmoved by me. He seemed very polite, but, okay. I might not be his cup of tea. He's very nice. Very nice.
He's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Middle Management of Justice, my double fine.
Does it keep track of how many hours you spend? I mean, you just said 6 hours.
It blessedly does not.
It doesn't.
It blessedly does not.
You're 32 hours in.
Yeah. No. There are plenty of games that do that, right? And you're like, I don't need... Thank you.
Don't remind me.
Right. A friend of mine did a bit. You know Lori Kilmartin? She's been here
twice on this podcast.
Excellent. She has a young son, and she did a joke the other night, LoriKilmartin.com, about how her father's very ill, and she was very sad about it. And her son comes up to her and says, "Why are you sad, Mom? Are you sad because I'm not playing Minecraft?" Yes, that's why. Turns out there's much of the ills of the world are because you are not playing enough video games, young man. And the Palestinian situation could be resolved if you could just get in some Portal 2.
Come on, man.
Bam, bam, bam.
Not enough gaming.
Super fun.
Holy crap.
So
I have 5 bits of trivia for you that are related to video games.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
What are they?
Ready? Mm-hmm. True or false? Mario from Super Mario Brothers was originally named Jumpman.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
You know that for a fact?
I believe I do.
Yes, it's true.
It is true.
Yeah. In 81, he was a carpenter, not a plumber.
Right.
And the makers of the game eventually renamed him Mario because of who was he named after?
Oh, was it their plumber?
Their landlord.
Let me tell you, I played the original Mario because I'm a million years old. And
in an arcade somewhere.
Oh, totally. Madison, Wisconsin, $70 a week in cash from my student loans the first 2 weeks I went to college, until I realized, this is not a good idea.
What do you mean $70? You spent $70 on the game?
On Mario, Tempest, Donkey Kong, Dragon's Lair, I think came out that year.
Dragon's Lair.
Yes, and it was a memorization game, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
But it was beautiful. It was the first Laserdisc game.
It was when people would surround you while you're playing.
Oh,
and would be like, no, right, because you're right. It was just memory.
Yeah,
basically.
but in '95, I mean, people have always, and granted, it's different now. And I will watch someone like I watched. I think my nephew play Fallout 3 because it's fascinating. It's like watching somebody play a movie.
Absolutely,
and
some are
right, some are. But I remember Mortal Kombat, Ultimate Mortal Kombat was the current Mortal Kombat game before the first Mortal Kombat movie came out, and I remember watching this guy. I was going to the midnight showing of the Mortal Kombat movie at the Mall of America in 1996 or 4 or whatever it came out. And so I was at the arcade, which was next to some horrible sports bar and across from the Hooters.
America's original sports bar, Jackie.
Oh, I'm sorry. That seems unlikely. How could it possibly?
That was its name. You can call yourself whatever you want.
I suppose you can. I was at the chicken place I was at in Oklahoma City a couple of weeks ago, claimed to have invented the picnic.
Oh.
Gutsy stuff.
Wow.
Anyway, so this guy played he played Mortal Kombat, and we all watched him. There was like 12 of us. Yeah. And then I was going with a friend to see Mortal Kombat, the movie, and I met him, and we went in. And that guy was sitting right in front of me with a bunch of like 6 of his fans, like his posse.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And Mortal Kombat, to see the movie Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have.
Let me tell you this. It holds up. Mortal Kombat 2 does not.
It holds up?
Yeah, it holds up as the greatest video game movie ever. I've never seen Tomb Raider, though, and I hear that that's excellent.
Yeah, well.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. If you're, yes.
But
the outfit, Lara Croft outfit.
Yeah, well, she's Super Fox, but how does it hold up if you played the game and then saw the movie? That's
good. I liked them both.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Liked them both.
Mortal Kombat, same.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2, not as good. Though very funny because it was Ultimate Mortal Kombat, I think, was the game he was playing. Or it was Mortal Kombat 3, I forget. But now I'm uncertain.
Who were some of the stars of Mortal Kombat?
Dun, 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 dun. I'll tell you.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
If I were ever... Oh,
right?
In the movie?
Yeah.
No. It was the guy who was Highlander.
Oh,
He played Raiden. I thought you meant the characters, and I was like, if I was ever going to get a tattoo, it would have been, and if I were gay, because I think only a gay lady could carry it off, and I would have gotten it in ¡95, and it would have been of Nighthawk on my shin.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want a Native American with a tomahawk that glows green on their shin? That'll get you some dates. That will not get you any dates. Not with men, I assume. Maybe with the right man. It's so beautiful. Have you ever been with a man? I can only recommend it. It's a feeling of fullness.
I can only imagine.
And if it's the right man, a feeling of fulfillment. Hey, ladies and germs.
I have another question for you.
Please do.
In real football, each team has 11 players on the field.
Oh,
obviously you know that because you're a huge football fan.
I do not know that.
That's not the question. The question is, in the original 1988 Tecmo Bowl, do you remember that game?
No.
It was a football video game.
Oh, I had a Coleco.
In 88, each team only had 9 players. So,
oh, interesting.
True or false?
I think that's true.
It is true. They changed it to 11 when Tecmo Super Bowl came out.
Oh, there you go.
In 1991.
They must not have been able to, in 88.
Yeah,
they didn't have enough RAM. There was no way that they had enough.
You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, that's all it was.
That game was amazing because it had the players' real names. It was
the first one.
Yeah,
it was the first one that took advantage of
licensing of the.
Yeah, here's the thing about football players. I can't. I know that they get paid a lot. It doesn't seem enough. For the brain damage.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem enough for them being personified on video games without their consent. I mean, it just doesn't seem enough.
Yeah.
I know it's several $1 million a year, but they're 22 years old. If I had been given several $1 million, we already knew I had been given thousands of dollars, and I was spending $70 a week. I think if I was given several $1 million, I would have done so much blow and so many male hookers. Yeah, and maybe bought my own 18-wheeler. No,
definitely would have got the tattoo.
I totally would have been able to afford the tattoo. I might have purchased a jet ski. We don't know.
I want to say something about that. I know a guy that I work with him on the KQ Morning Show. He was
a
football player. He played for the Vikings and the Jets in the 70s. And I just feel, and his health is still pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. And he's in his 50s or
60s?
60s even.
And
he might have been one of the lucky ones.
But you do those guys in that generation did not get paid well.
Right. And they also didn't get hit as hard, 70s.
Yeah.
They get hit a lot harder now too, I'm told.
True. That's true. Equipment's better now.
Equipment's better, but they get hit harder and they're fucking monsters. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're ginormous gentlemen, and I've never, you know how there's like those steroid scandals in baseball? I've never heard of a steroid scandal in football.
Because they don't care. They can use them.
Oh, is it?
Well.
Oh, or it's just not addressed. But everybody's clearly on some sort of steroid, right?
They gotta be, right?
Right, they're monsters.
Yeah.
They're giant.
I'm not saying Clay Matthews of the Green Bay Packers is using
possibly. And I'm not saying Paul Ryan date raped me in high school and college. I'm just saying he looks like the guy and he's age appropriate. Here
we go. True or false, Jackie? The Atari 2600. Did you have one of those?
I didn't. We were poor.
Your friend had one though that you spent time.
No, I didn't have any friends.
I had to go to my
Asperger's. It's very sad. But what about it?
True or false? The Atari 2600 still holds the record for the best-selling video game system.
No.
What do you think is?
False.
Of course, it's not.
It is not, and I would have to say Nintendo 64 or something.
No.
Is it a Nintendo system?
No.
It is not.
No.
Then I am total. Is it PS3?
No.
PS2?
Yes.
I would not be surprised. Yeah, PS2 makes sense. But I thought for sure it was one of the early Nintendos because Nintendo was so amazing for so long. I mean, they're in some trouble these days.
Yes. Even
just because of cell phones and iPads and whatnot.
Absolutely. Even I had I went through 2 Nintendos, the original one.
A friend of mine who lives here and her son has never had a gaming system, and she said, "Hey, I found a Game Boy at a garage sale that I got for Emmett." And Emmett's 7. He's never played a video game except for at a friend's house. And I'm like, "You did not buy him the old gray brick."
Oh no.
Is it a giant gray brick of a thing? And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "Is it black and white?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I have at least 2 Game Boy Advances and 2 DSs sitting at my house that I'm not playing because I'm playing on my iPad now."
Yeah.
And so I said, "I'll bring him a clam. I'll bring him the Game Boy Advanced and a bunch of games." But the thing about games is that they're all violent, right? I mean, even the puzzly games are violent. So I brought him Pokemon, and I said, and she said, "Is it violent?" And I said, "They're sparring," which is another word for fighting. But if they're sparring, and he's 7. He's a 7-year-old boy. He deserves a Game Boy. He doesn't. I mean, you know what? I had a rubber band. Fuck. It's just play with whatever. And he's a good kid, and he plays with whatever's in front of him. But I thought, get him something.
And I think 7-year-old boys enjoy watching sparring in animated form.
Yeah. They want to wrestle. They want to wrestle. They want to spar.
Yeah.
And he's a very, he's been raised to be a very good kid. And he's a reader, and he's a good kid. But he's also a little boy. And little boys like to wrestle. That is, it's a sweeping statement. I'm taking a stand.
Hold on. Hold on.
Come on, Jackie. Don't be ridiculous.
Come back to haunt you.
Oh, hilarious.
That just reminded me of something. There's a acquaintance of mine, and I was wearing a Star Wars T-shirt a couple weeks back, and she said to me, "Oh, my sons would love your shirt." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I said,
they like Star Wars?
I said, "Oh, they like the movies? We don't watch TV, and they've never seen the movies." I'm like, well, how do they know about...
How old are they? What are the age of the children that have not been allowed to watch Star Wars? Did you call social services immediately?
What was it? I think her oldest is 7.
Oh, that's... You know what?
8?
I mean, there's 7? All kinds of things happening in the world that I am super judgmental about. And without any children, because that's important. I have 12 nieces and nephews and 4 great nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
And... I got all kinds of opinion about how my siblings should raise their children and their kids should raise their kids. It's none of my business. But I think, I just had my childhood, and I'm not saying that they should have my childhood, right?
Right.
I mean, that's where it all falls apart. I wandered South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is probably 3 miles square, from the age of, I think, 8 until 18, just all I did was do laps around that town. Just go to the lake, go to the library, go to the McDonald's, go to the,
right,
and just lap.
Yeah.
And just because I didn't want to go home. And I'm the youngest of 6. So you know what you do when you go home and there's 6 kids? A lot of people just staring at you.
And leftovers,
expecting you to, and my stepmother, she was like, she came into my life when I was 8, and she was like, "You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. You have to be home by 5 p.m. for dinner," which was at 5:30, because I've made dinner, and we're all going to sit down and eat it.
Yeah.
And for every minute that you were late, you were grounded a day.
Oh.
Yeah. So if I was 10 minutes late, the next 10 days I had to come straight home from school.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And you know what that made you? On time.
Yeah. Learn that lesson fast.
I'm currently the most on time person ever.
Wow.
And because that's what I'm like. But she was, she was bossy, but prior to her coming into our lives, there was no structure. She was a great loss to the Austrian army. And she was very much, there was a lot of structure. There were charts, there were graphs.
Oh boy.
There were chores, there were systems, and there were checks and balances.
Marching?
There was actually no marching, but one of my favorite things I've been talking about, because she passed away last year and it was very sad, but one of her things was she was very frugal, because she came into our lives and she's like, "I got to feed these people. There's 6 kids. How do I feed these people and yet still have some sort of life of my own? And my dad, who made pretty good money, but you'd have to make like Mel Gibson money to have 6 kids, Jim Gaffigan money to have 6 kids.
Right.
And so she would be like, okay, but some of the things made sense, right? Like once a month we would have powdered milk.
Yeah.
It's gross, but we did it.
There was always a thread of that in my house.
It was always, well, and she would use a real gallon of milk and she'd stretch it out over
Right.
whatever. And there was a lot of Kool-Aid because Kool-Aid's free.
Oh, yeah.
And but there was one of the things that was ridiculous that she never let us do is we could never use the Yahtzee paper.
Oh.
We'd use it. We'd make our own graphs. And you're like, who are you saving the Yahtzee paper for, Nancy? The Queen? What's going to happen? And God love her. I mean, she was the hardest working woman in the world.
Did you have to make your own, or did she write out the Yahtzee paper for you?
Well, we were all, we all had motor skills. She was like, no, just use another. But I'll tell you where it really messed us up was in Mad Libs. When you're reading a Mad Lib and you got to go to another cheat sheet for the plural noun.
You're kidding.
It throws off your timing. And that'll ruin your timing as a child.
You never fill the book, though.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's the thing is you can keep playing.
Yeah.
You couldn't because she wanted to reuse the Mad Libs.
Did you? You know what toy is good for this is
what?
Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh, that would have been perfect. That would have been the perfect Nancy Kashian toy.
She probably would have loved that, right?
She would have loved that business. But the problem with Etch-a-Sketch has always been that they break almost immediately, and you can't make them do anything.
No.
And then there's people that are really, really good at them. But if you ask them, now how old is that Etch-a-Sketch? They're not telling you this is a 30-year-old Etch-a-Sketch. No, they just bought it this morning.
No.
Because they break almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate Etch-a-Sketch. Wow, I got an opinion. I'm taking stands, people.
Ow.
Boys like to wrestle, and Etch-a-Sketch is made out of tears.
Baby tears.
Baby tears.
What do you know about Tetris? Did you know?
I love Tetris.
true
To the
or
point of sitting on the toilet and having tiles turn into Tetris. That's how much I play Tetris. What do you got?
Oh my.
Haven't you ever that never happened to you?
Yeah, maybe. Tetris got its name, true or false, because it's the Russian word for 4, and each of the blocks have 4 sections.
I believe that to be true. I know that it was the first Soviet video game. The first popular Soviet video game.
Oh, interesting.
It's the first video game that came out of the Soviet Union that sold in a capitalist economy.
Tetris.
What does Tetris really mean?
Is not the Russian word for 4. It's the Greek prefix that means 4.
Okay.
But a Russian did create the game.
Yep.
Look at you.
Soviet game. Because it's supposed to be they're building and knocking down the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's the Berlin Wall, man.
I have a Nintendo. Here's the last one. It's on Nintendo.
Okay.
The company Nintendo has been around for over 100 years. True or false?
True.
It is
and
true.
it used to make something else. What did it make? I feel like it made puzzles or something. It made like
close.
it was a game. It was a gaming company always. Mm-hmm. Was it Sudoku?
Playing cards.
Playing cards.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Damn.
Right. You could games, video games, and comic books, Jackie Kashian. I know the thing. You have a podcast called The Dork Forest.
Yeah.
You get to learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's. I've interviewed people about things that I could give a hoot about. The True Crime Diary lady, TrueCrimeDiary.net. Michelle McNamara. She's married to Patton Oswalt, and she loves true crime and cold cases. And a couple episodes ago, that was her. And she's been on 3 times. Each year, she's been on once a year. Each year, she has been, the last 2 years, 1 year, top 10 episodes of the year, beloved.
Yeah.
Second year, number 1 episode of the top 10 episode. And then this year, we didn't get enough into true crime. I don't know how she's going to fare this year at the end of the year rankings. Because there were a lot of great episodes. Greg Proops talked about ancient history.
Wow.
Because you can dork out about anything.
Totally.
Right? And if, it can be comic books and video games and movies, but it can also be bees and perfume and traffic court. Tomorrow's episode is about traffic court.
What was the one I was just listening to?
Wrestling? The wrestling one where they wouldn't shut up? I had to actually say to them, I'm turning the recorder off at 1:45.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because the show goes an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know much about wrestling?
No. All I know about wrestling, because I grew up in South Milwaukee, is and the Crusher lives in South Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew him from when I was a kid, and my grandma always watched the
Wasn't he a
the
teacher
wrestling.
or something? Is that, or am I thinking someone
he's a
else?
wrestler.
Yeah, but
Yeah. But I don't
a
think
lot
he
of
had
those
a day
guys had
job.
like
Had day jobs and stuff?
day jobs back then.
He might have been.
Yeah.
But I only watched it on Sundays occasionally with my grandmother, where this isn't going to be a wrestling match. This is going to be a war.
Bloodbath.
Baron von Raschke versus the Greg Gagne and the High Flyers.
That's
and
right.
so I have that's all the information I have about wrestling.
Yeah.
And these guys started in the 70s and they ended around 93. And they were both like, well, we can come back and talk more. And I was like, yeah. They've already emailed me going, when?
Oh, boy.
When will we? And I was like, there will be a rotation, and it'll be a minute.
Oh, boy.
So you're good people, but I love you dearly, Mike Schmidt of the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast and Andy Peters of Wandertown podcast.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah, both of those guys. They're both
anything-
stand-up comics.
Yeah.
They might come here.
Anything else in this past 6 months from your show stands out?
There's so many great episodes. I wish, I did some live ones. I did one with Janine Garofalo and Marie Bamford, where we talked about beading, making like necklaces and bracelets, and then they weeded off into a Susie Orman rant that was awesome.
Oh wow, okay.
And then I did one with Diva Zappa, Frank Zappa's youngest daughter, Diva.
The one that I haven't heard of.
Nobody's ever heard of her, she said. And I met her at some show, and I was like, I do a podcast called The Dork Forest. You got a dorkdom? And she's a photographer. She photographs rock bands. And she also knits. And so she talked about knitting for an hour. That was awesome. And Janine Garofalo, okay, so that, and then I don't know. I've had so many great ones.
You were just on a recent episode with Chris Hardwick.
I did The Nerdist,
The Nerdist.
recently. I also did something called Crab Feast. And I did Al Jackson's podcast.
Jay Larson's Crab Feast.
Yeah, Jay Larson's Crab Feast
Yeah.
with Ryan Stickler.
Yeah.
Stickler. And then I just did, and Alan Jackson's coming out, I think, today. The second half of that. Alan, what the hell is it's called? What? That's it. And it's him and another guy named Forrest Shaw.
Okay.
Al Jackson, not Alex Jackson. Alex Jackson, Minneapolis comic, firefighter.
Correct.
Al Jackson, Florida middle school teacher for many years. And hilarious stand-up comedy, Al Jackson.
Okay.
Al Jackson comedy, go see it.
Alan Jackson, country music singer.
Different gentleman entirely. Al Jackson, one of my favorite jokes of his is he talks about how he used to teach sex ed in Florida, and he said, "You got a sex ed teacher in your life? Shake that man's hand, because he is the last defense between your daughter, your beautiful 13-year-old daughter, and the 14-year-old boy who wants to sleep with her, and tells her things like, if you close your eyes, you can't get pregnant." And some girl actually said that. She said, "So is this true?" And he said, "What boy told you that? What boy? Tell me that man's name. Tell me that young man's name, because I have to go kill that young man, because he's going to be the father of at least 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill him."
Yeah.
And he said, "You got to thank that teacher. That's a good teacher." I was that teacher. And then, but it's so much better than that. That was just a fascinating story. But he's a great comic. Al Jackson comedy.
Perfect.
Jackie Cation comedy. You can go to JackieCation.com or DorkForest.com. You can go to AcmeComedyCompany.com, I bet.
Hell yeah, that'll
And
get us.
find
That'll get us to stuff on you, stuff on this podcast.
Right, and other comics upcoming. Mm-hmm. And if so this week I'm here at Acme. Next week I think I'm home, and then I'm in Sunnyvale, California, where it's all IT. It's all programmers and stuff. And so they get every weird Lord of the Rings reference I have.
bet.
They're so great. And then this is my favorite club, Acme, because it's my home club and I love it. And they get everything. But I love that. It's Rooster T. Feathers in Sunnyvale. Rooster T. Feathers, they answer the phone cock-a-doodle-doo.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. You get to do whatever you want, it turns out, when you own a comedy club.
I guess so.
And then I think the week after that is, I don't know, I think I'm December. I'm back here
Coming back here.
to tape my DVD, which is called This Will Make an Excellent Horcrux. And then New Year's Eve, I'm in Austin, Texas. So come and see me do comedy or say hi. Or listen
maybe
to the Dork Forest.
Exactly. Maybe we'll talk again
In December.
in December.
If there's you got something else to talk about, let's do it.
Tons. And then I have one last question.
Sure.
Hunger Games. Is that your thing or no?
Read them. Can't watch the movie. Even though they look really good. Here's the thing about the Hunger. Did you read them?
No.
Okay. First book, great. Second book,
I've heard.
good. Third book, irritatingly revenge porn.
Ooh.
There's a whole genre of revenge porn where vigilantism and people take justice into their own hands. And I want my heroes to be better people than me.
Good point.
Yeah. So that's the kind of books I read. So the first one is this underdog thing that's awesome. The second one, they're no longer the underdogs, but they're making something come together, and it's awesome. The third one, she's like, oh, this has got to be waterboarding. Sometimes you got to do it, and you're like, oh, we've parted ways.
Oh,
Man who did Ender's Game. Did you read Ender's Game?
no.
Okay.
But my neighbor's dog is named Ender after that book.
It's a great book, and Ender's Shadow is a great book. Orson Scott Card has lost his tiny lizard mind, and I can't go see the movie. Plus, in the movie, they made the kid like 11 or 12, and in the book he was 6. And I'm like, find a 6-year-old.
They're out there.
There are some very smart 6-year-olds out there, and they're playing Minecraft right now. And so what you need to do is find that boy and let him act.
Yeah.
Because it's the great. If you get a chance to read Ender's Game, it'll take about a minute because it's a light read. It just cruises, right? Do you know what a 40-year-old version of Hunger Games is, by the way?
No.
Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
Oh, okay.
Cline with a C, Ready Player One, is a great book and a quick read, and awesome set in all of these video games of the 80s. Movies. Yeah, write down Ready Player One.
I'm literally writing that down right now.
You
Ready
should-
Player One?
Ready Player One, Ernest Cline.
Perfect.
It's so good.
I will have read it by the next time I see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, because it'll take you about a week. Because you can skim and go, oh, I get it. And it's awesome. And they're going to make a movie.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, a week if you're a slow reader.
Like I said, I was just going to say a week then, for sure. Jackie, thank you. Good luck rest of the week with Maria here at
Thank
Acme.
you so much for having me. It was super fun.